All right, guys, it's time for the Next Level Guy Show, a men's interview, interest, and improvement-focused podcast featuring interviews with the greats from all industries to help you better your life. Each week, a new episode features an interview with one of the greats, covering all aspects of their story, from life hacks to tips and protocols that have allowed them to live life on the next level. We then highlight concrete action steps that you can use to improve your life. And now, your host, Ian Dawson McKay.
And today's guest is Adam Jablin. Adam is a best-selling author, inspirational keynote speaker, transformational life coach, and spiritual and recovery mentor. In 2006, Adam got clean and sober, which unleashed many gifts he had hidden inside. During the most successful years of his company, Adam was in the grips of alcoholism and addiction. He knows what it's like to be powerless. His family intervened, and Adam's spiritual journey began. While running a multi-million-dollar company, Adam dedicated himself to helping others and showing them the path out of their problems and into the solution. Later, Adam helped sell that business for 9 figures with his loved ones, and now he wants to help you. Adam's teachings show people the way to become the hero of their own lives. In this interview, we discuss how to break down your old internal programming that is holding you back in life, how to find your internal superpower in life, how to find the mentors you need to change, and so much more. And now, let's get to the interview. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure. Now, I've followed you from your social media, for your Instagram, love your content, but you've got an amazing backstory. For people who maybe don't recognize the name, and they should, how do you define who you are? Because you've got an amazing story.
Oh, thank you, my man. Yeah, that means a lot. So, well, I would define myself, I'm the typical hero in the hero's journey. And that's what I help people do. I had to leave the known world and what I thought was typical and very regular and familiar. And I was drinking, and drugging, and making money. And I had to go into the unknown and find out all these principles, spiritual in nature, and go on this journey of discovery to find out who I really am and where my true power is, and find the courage to slay the dragons and face my fears, and then come home and return and help people do the same thing that I've done. And that's, so really what I am is the prototypical hero's journey.
I do love it because it's like change of behavior is a true power not a lot of people can do. And to be able to do that and then say, yeah, I help myself, now I can help others with it. It's a fantastic mission to be on. But I mean, you went from a sort of multi-million pound sort of business into, you were dealing with like the alcohol issues and things like that. Did you feel the struggles when you were younger because it felt like your future was mapped out because you were expected to go into the parents' business?
Yes.
Or did that come up?
Very much so. So my grandfather was successful, very, very proud of him. And then my father was even more successful. And I had to live up to these 2 giant shadows. And I'll never forget, my father, out of love, my father and my mother, out of love, the family business really turned successful, and they were offered a lot of money. So they were trying to get clarity on what to do. And they asked me at a young age, probably around 12 or 13, do I want to take it over? And I saw the change in lifestyle, and I saw how well, and I knew what they wanted to hear. And I said, yes. Now they never knew what they were doing to a 12 or 13-year-old boy. They were just trying to get clarity. They weren't doing, I didn't know that I was signing my life on the line, on the dotted line. And, but it did kind of make me feel very insecure and powerless. And, I never got to really dare to dream and what could I do or who could I be? And I was always very charismatic. very popular. People seem to love me, but at the same time, I felt like this desperation inside. I would quiet that desperation with a lot of alcohol.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
And do you think that's part of a thing is like, because we're not taught to talk about it, we're expected to just to deal with it as men, that we kind of just build it up and we just let it go? And what did you start noticing were red flags? Were there like events or things that happened that you just thought, looking back now, you're like, whoa, that's obvious?
It's so funny you say that, right? Because what happened was, have you ever seen the movie The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis? Okay, so you watch the whole movie. In the end, he realizes he's dead, and the whole movie makes sense. And you're like, oh, this is why the little boy can see him. This is why this is why things are so weird with the wife. This is because he's dead, right? Well, when I admitted when I was an alcoholic and an addict for the first time in rehab, everything I had done to that point made sense. Like, so, but when you say red flags, I just was like, oh, it was bad luck. So the DUI, the 2 days in jail, the 30 letters I wrote to my ex-wife that I'll stop drinking, the walking my face into the wall. I have too many drunk high stories that are funny and ridiculous. But for me, I thought it was just a guy that was out of control, like a fun, loving party guy. And when I finally admitted to myself that I'm an alcoholic and an addict, that's when everything made sense. Oh, that's why I do this. That's why I behave like this. That's why this occurs over and over and over again.
Because you hear that, don't you? It's like everybody kind of going, when I look back now, but we're kind of made to decisions at school about what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Where do you want to go? What career you want to do when you're like 12, 13, 14, and you're like, I would barely know what pot to piss in back then. Now looking back, I'm kind of like, what on earth? I'm certainly not the same person I was 5 years ago. Never mind, 20 odd years ago, and I think that's putting a lot of pressure on like young adults today. And like you see these kids shooting up schools and things like that, and it's like they've got no one to actually they can sit, speak to, and talk to.
Yeah.
So do you think that's why we use like alcohol and drugs? Do we just try to quell that voice, that inner voice, that superpower voice, going, look, Clark Kent, Superman's here. We need to get going. Do you think we're kind of burying that?
I think that's a big part of it. I do. I think, I think there's a slew of reasons. Sometimes it's to get the courage, like you just said, right? Hey, Clark Kent, Superman's here. But sometimes it's just a rite of passage. And, you see your friends drinking or the older kids drinking, and you want to see what it feels like and participate too. I think there's so many different reasons why we try. Why we. I think where it can get a little more common is why we continue.
Because I always love like on your social media and like your Insta stories and all that, it's like you're never shy about saying this stuff that other people would go, oh no, I can never admit to that. Oh, I can never tell that story because that makes you look. But you just go, this is what I did. This is how I fixed it. Thanks. And I think that's helping so many people because, you get this like everybody talking on the high horse, but you're actually going, I've been there, but you can come back from it. You can bounce back.
Oh, yeah. I don't come from a place of judgment at all. I mean, most of the time, and I don't say this in a competitive way, but most of the time I made an ass out of myself way bigger than the people I'm helping. I took things way farther down a darker road, made bigger mistakes, which is why I love helping them. And the fact that I did it so grandiose gives them a permission slip to be like, oh, I could talk about this. Like if Adam did X, Y, and Z, if Adam did something this crazy, then, I could definitely talk about this little thing.
I interviewed a guy called Dr. Rob Kelly. Don't know if you have any interaction with him.
I partner with Dr. Rob quite a bit.
Perfect. Well, he came and he was the first one I'd ever heard that he tells the story of realizing it was the drink. It was the actual, what was in his mind, the problems he was struggling with. Do you go along the same kind of belief with him that, we can look back in our families and look for the repetition of the problem? You know, like I've got mental health issues and like depression and stuff. So he said, like addicts are born, they're they're created or hereditary. They're not made by drinking. Would you agree with that from your kind of own experience?
I mean, but first off, he's speaking more. Let's give credit where credit is due. Dr. Rob Kelly, not only is he a man of pure heart and integrity, okay, and there's not a lot of them out there.
He's some guy.
He is the #1 addiction doctor by acknowledged by Harvard University. As in, so if you're going by popularity or MTV, you may think it's Dr. Drew, who I love and I know well. But when it comes to the actual science of alcoholism and addiction, Dr. Rob Kelly is the guy. And yes, what he's saying, there's a lot of truth to it. I don't think he meant it as a blanket statement. Dr. Rob would be the first one to tell you that, there are people that if you continue doing the same behavior and over and over and over, it's going to become a problem. But for many of us, there is a genetic component. And when it's ignited by us, I haven't one person yet that somebody put handcuffs on, right? Put a gun to their head and said, drink this. I need to make you an alcoholic. It's always with your own willpower and your own curiosity. But once it's ignited, and you have those past traumas from your childhood, hello, it's time.
No, it makes a lot of I was remembering just now my own sort of like, I never really wanted to drink at the time, but everybody else was doing it. It was cool. And I can remember coming away thinking, I won't do that again. Because it made me feel confident. It made me feel like, hide the imposter syndrome that I was feeling at the time. I still feel it now. I've done 140 odd interviews in this series. And I'm like, every time I'm like, I wish they've cancelled tonight. I wish they've cancelled tonight. Because in my head, I'm still that scared little boy back then. And I think that's what...
Beautiful, man. Look, I'll tell you, my mentor and my spiritual father, Dion, he's a legend rock and roll Hall of Famer, right? He's the one that Bruce Springsteen looks up to, that Bob Dylan looks up to. Dion. I mean, it's Dion. It's not many people are known by one name, and he'll tell you, he's been doing this now for like 70 years, and he still gets a little nervous every time he gets on stage, right? Because it's an excitement as well. It's an energy.
It's a fight or flight thing.
Yeah. So I think it's something to acknowledge. You may do 1,000 of these and still get that feeling, but it actually is going to help you. It's not. I don't necessarily know if it's really imposter syndrome after that much time. I think it's just that anxiety is actually a superpower.
And I think it's when it's not there, you start to panic. That's the sign. I can see why you're helping a lot of people already, because just 5 minutes reading like some of your Instagram written posts, I'm like, this guy gets it. He's not foolish.
Think about it. Like if you don't have that, it can almost be like you don't care. And if you don't care, now we're going to, like, dare I say it, sociopath, right? Like if you don't care, like that's a sociopath. I can hurt someone and not care. I can kill someone and not care. I can do something for you and not give a shit. Once you get to this, I don't care, I don't have this energy, right? You're actually more dangerous. So I think to acknowledge, even if you're labeling imposter syndrome, that it's actually just a little nervousness, anxiety. You want to do your best. You weren't trained for this, so your mind may try to mess with you and fuck with you. But dude, the training is the 139 you did before. You don't need to go to school for a pot. Like you did it, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
And do you think that's like a big sort of problem? It's like we use the idea of Dutch carriage for alcohol. It's like, oh, you're nervous, have a drink before you go in. Oh, you're needing a date, have a shot before you get into the restaurant. Like we use it kind of like as a way of not just telling somebody how to find their own inner confidence. They just go, you need it from an external source. You need it to be like poured into a glass for you.
I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm saying this because liquid courage works, and a couple of shots of tequila before you go is definitely going to make you feel better. Now, it's very important that I don't want alcohol to be the thing we're beating up here, right? Like a rabbi and a priest can have wine before their sermon, and people can have weddings and celebrations with beautiful wine and vodkas and special scotches and cigars. Like it's meant to celebrate with spirits. It's for people like me and like what Dr. Rob Kelly said with the abusive thinking, right? And use it in the wrong way. That's when it becomes a problem. You know, I don't want alcohol to actually be the problem because that's making everybody into an alcoholic, and that's just not true.
I mean, that's partly one of the reasons I never started smoking. Like, I always envied, like, because of my anxiety at the time, I envied people who had cigarettes and roll-ups and stuff like that because they could always do something with their hands. They had the lighter, they had the cigarettes, and I was like, if I was doing that, I'd be rolling 50 a day. I wouldn't be able to leave it alone because it allowed me to channel the anxiety into it. Did you have, like, what was your point that you started thinking, okay, this is more than a problem? This is actually an addiction. This is something I'm struggling with. Was there a point you can pinpoint?
I mean, I definitely had a lot of moments of clarity and moments of concern throughout my drinking, and drugging career, which really started heavily around 15 and ended at 30. And I would have these moments of like, this is not good. Like, and drinking was always my number one. I think it's because it was common. It was, my family drank. We were heavy drinkers in my family. I'm the only alcoholic. But, when you start messing with the drugs and the pharmaceuticals and cocaine and ecstasy and Oxycontin and Darvocet and, Percocet and then uppers, downers, laughers, screamers, LSD, mushrooms. When I started realizing, like, okay, every single weekend I want a bag of cocaine when I drink, that's when I knew the cocaine was a problem. So, but once I put the cocaine down, the drinking went up. Then when I realized the drinking was becoming too hard, the hangovers were too tough. My body wasn't working out the same way. I wasn't trained the same way. And I would cut back on the drinking. Something else would have to pop up. So I would then start using Xanax. But, or I would use Ambien to sleep. And it just became this, I don't know if you remember when we were kids, there was a game called Whack-A-Mole, right? So this thing would pop up, you whack it, and then this other thing would pop up, you whack it. And so what would happen is, the alcohol would come up, I'd whack it, I'd come down, and then the Ambien would come up, Ambien to sleep, and whack, and then Xanax, and whack, and then, painkillers, and whack, and then, cocaine, whack, and then alcohol comes back up, and whack, and it just becomes this vicious cycle. And so I had all these weird moments of knowing I'm abusing something. I'm abusing. It's no good. It's no good. It's no good. But I couldn't find my way out.
And do you think, like, that's something about it is that you're in that situation where people are like, but you can't be an alcoholic. You're producing all this amazing work. You're in running a business. You're, doing the stocks. You're doing the payments. Not that people seem to think that you can't been an addict and be high performing. Whereas I used to see them every day. I worked in a cashier store, like, serving a lot of people when they would come in, they'd buy a bottle of whiskey and they'd be in their 3-piece suits and that'd be their lunch. The lady would come in with a little bottle of gin, buy it and go off to our business meetings. And that's how they kind of coped with the stress. And people seem to think, like, we've got this image of the drunk guy in the gutter. That's the alcoholic. The guy that can't keep a job. That's the alcoholic. But there's lots of high-performing addicts that I've noticed.
Yeah, very high-performing. So I used to think there was a movie called End of Days when I was a kid with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yep. Great movie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie is an alcoholic. And he's going to fight the devil in it. But in the movie, I'll never forget, he grabs, it's Arnold. It's a young Arnold, younger. And he grabs a bottle of scotch and he drinks it. And you see this huge bicep. Huge. And I remember thinking, it's not believable. It doesn't go together. Right? Because you see all the hard work. Right? And you see Arnold. So I tried to use that as my mask as well. Right? Because I thought people thought the way I thought. Like, oh, if he's in great shape and if he has the money and if he has that, then he can't be an alcoholic. I wanted people to believe that. I had no idea that people could see right through it.
And how did you deal with that? Like, how were you dealing with, like, did you look at people and think, he's judging me, and that was a pressure from there? And what did that make you sort of do? Did that make you drink heavier? Did that make you sort of push more stress on yourself?
Yeah.
How did you deal with
it? That's a great question, because it's something I work on still to this day. It made me hyper competitive. It made me put people on my little dartboard that I had to be better than them. I would not only try to be better at them with my body, I would try to have more money than in my bank account, and I would drink at them. I would try to be like, you can't keep up with me, you can't be me, you can't drink like me, you can't train like me. But it's sad because you're living in this internal torture, right? And this other person's not thinking about you at all.
Wow.
It's this bullshit that I put on them that they're putting on me. It's the whole thing that goes back to what Dr. Rob was saying. It's a thinking problem, not a drinking problem, right? It's my thinking. Like, that person's not even thinking about me, and they are literally a little red dot on my board that I keep thinking about. I need to be better than them. I need to be, and like this person's living their life. I'm drinking at them. I'm lifting at them. I'm looking better than them. They don't give a shit.
Been there so many times. I was just like, I was smiling in a way because it made me realize and go, that was so and so. That's so and so. How and when did you realize that was just stupid, and to actually use that energy inside rather than outside? What was like your turning moment, do you think? Because you've done it.
It's I'd rather make it a very transparent interview rather than like I've climbed the mountain interview. I'm really much better at it. But that is, it is something that will leak back in every now and then. And I have to constantly work on myself to let that go and to realize that these are stories that I'm making up. And I'm making them up because maybe I found, when I did it before, I found some form of success. Or maybe I'm feeling I need a little drive, or maybe there's an anger in me that needs to be felt. But it's not like I'm totally healed from it. It tends to creep back in every now and then. I'm not saying that I'm bad. I'm not bad anymore. I don't make every single person my competitor and my target. But it does seem to sometimes creep back in.
I mean, it's probably really good to hear because I still get that. Like, I'm still looking, going, oh, that person's got a better podcast, or that person's doing that. And I'm like, they don't even know I exist. They're probably like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll come on your show. Yeah, like being completely nice about it. And I'll be bitching and moaning about them because we start looking at, it's like when you get your next belt in jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm a blue belt. When I get the purple belt, I'll immediately be going, I'm shite because I'm getting battered by the brown and the black belts. Never mind the fact that you're better than you've ever been. But we still put all this pressure on ourselves. And how did you get over that sort of personal sort of fear of making that change? Because, like, you talking about how we can find our own sort of inner superpower. Yeah. How do we start actually, instead of just ripping off the clothes like Clark Kent does, how do we start getting over that fear of, I can be more, becoming the superhero in our own journey?
So I have to use I statements. And I'm really not trying to, I don't need it. I don't need the business. I don't need the clients. I really don't. But I need to use I statements. I had to become teachable. I had to find a coach and a mentor that can show me the way out. It was not, every book is of self-discovery. So if you think it's in a book, take your fucking pick. Go to the Bible, think of Think and Grow Rich, go to the 12 Steps to Alcoholics Anonymous, go to Codependence No More, go to The Power of Now, go to Awaken the Giant Within from Tony Robbins. Go, like, if you think it's in a fucking book, we're all restating the same. My book, Tony's book, Nick's book. It's all right, but eventually you got to take some fucking action consistently with someone that's actually done it. right? That's why everybody gets stuck in this, oh, I have a podcast, but it's not going anywhere. Oh, I have this, but it's not going anywhere. Yeah, because no one wants to actually really do what they're asking about, which is invest in themselves and say, I'm going to have the fucking balls to change. Nobody does. And that's why there are people like me that we jump. We take a quantum jump because we're actually like, you know what? I don't know. And even though I have a good reputation, and even though I have this, and even though I have that, I'm going to actually become teachable. I'm going to take my hard-earned money, maybe even money that I don't have, and I'm going to bet on myself and say, somebody show me the way. So once I started doing that, and I started working in his inner circle, and I started meeting other people like that, I started growing because there was so much I didn't know.
And how did you start that?
That's the key that I would want to give other people. Not me. I don't care about, it's not for me. I'm asking them for, I don't care who they're attracted to. It's not it's find that person that you can break through finally.
Because I know that's just helped so many people. Just that alone, just people kind of going, yes, I am holding back. How many people do you get coming to you and going, I've got this business idea. Have you looked into it? No, but I'm waiting for the market to improve. Oh, I want to go and approach that girl. Well, have you spoken to her? No, because she's working just now. I can't speak to her. And you're like, well, why can't you do it later? Oh, and they always have an excuse. They always have a reason. I get like emailed from guys going, oh, I would love to go and date girls, but I'm not confident enough. I'm not manly enough. I'm not dressed well enough. And it's like, have you spoken to them? No. Well, how do you know that's what they're thinking? We have this inner bullshit. And that's what I love about like your approach. Like Rob Kelly, I remember he said in our interview, I don't want to know the stuff that you fake to other people. I want you to tell me about the stuff that you're struggling with, you're taking to the grave, that you're never going to share with anybody, the stuff that's destroying your life. Let's deal with that and let's get a move on. How did you find the mentors that were going to help you? The guys, like you're saying, that are going to just drag you and say, no more bullshit. Let's change. Let's be the real Adam that you can be.
Well, at first I was blessed with Dion coming into my life. I met Dion when I was 12 years old and really brought to him and under his love and his tutorage at 30, getting clean and sober. And then when it was time to really go into coaching, I knew my mission, if you were to ask me, is to bring Dion's teachings to the world the way Tony Robbins brought Jim Rohn's teachings to the world. Right. So so if you were to ever ask me who my mentor and who my teacher is, it's Dion. But to build a coaching business, to build social media, I've invested in myself, and it's not just one person. It's not just one person, but when you do that, that's where these quantum leaps happen. And so it's you have to find who you resonate with, what message you feel right with, and you have to trust your gut.
And is there sort of parameters that you set with these people, or do you just know? Like, do you just connect, and you just know that's part of? Because they say you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. Do you think you just know that the message you're reading is right? Read a book. No, it's not for me. Read a book. Get in there, but it's not quite okay. And then finding somebody that you just click with.
Well, let me give you an example. Let me try to give you an example. So it's less. You gotta get in the room. You gotta get in the room. You gotta get on the call. It's not that one social media post. It's not that one DM with the person. That DM could be their salespeople. It's getting in the room and actually talking to them and seeing if there's a vibe and seeing if you can learn from them. And if they trigger something that's making you feel really uncomfortable, that may be the reason that you need them. Because they're pushing something that you're like, this doesn't feel good. And it's like, exactly, because you don't want to grow. Your brain is making you want to stay stuck. I'll give you an example. I have a friend with 300 podcasts, over more, with big fucking names, but won't take the money into putting it in himself and growing. So guess what? He's got these huge names. Jesse Itzler, Tim Story, who I love. All these friends, David Meltzer, big influencers on his podcast, and he makes fucking bubkiss. Why? Because he won't invest in himself with a coach to understand how to grow a business. You know, he's obviously learned the formula of how to get the proper guests, but that formula is not feeding his family. So think about that. Think about where my friend that's stuck is. Big recovery name. He has the formula to get the guests, and he can't have the podcast make money, but he won't invest in himself to make. So he has all this material, all these shows but he won't invest in himself. That, my friend, is hell. That's hell.
Because I get that a lot. It's like people saying, "Oh,
I told him I'd rather not even start a fucking podcast." I can't even imagine.
Could you imagine that?
Tony, he had every name you could think of. He can't make a dime off of it. Said, well, what do you dude? Like, you obviously got this unbelievable platform and formula for getting the guests.
It's time for a quick break. There are millions of potential products to buy, so how do you know which ones are worth your hard-earned money? Simple. You go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and explore those that will transform and improve your life. You'll find deals, listener exclusives, and special offers with some great companies. Recommendations are 100% honest and only on items Ian has tried or believes in. The companies showcased will make you a better man in all areas of your life. Simply go to nextlevelguy.com/affiliates and level up.
So how do we do that then? How do we accept that we need to work on ourselves? We need to be open and invest in ourselves. How do we, say if there was 3 to 5 rules that people listening could just go, am I doing this, this, and this? Okay, I'm not investing in myself. If I'm doing that, I'm investing in myself. Do you have Adam's golden rules on being a badass?
So the first thing I would do is I would ask God for help or a higher purpose or a higher cause. I would say, God, life force, divine force, creator, higher power, whatever you're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. I'm open and I'm ready. I'm open and I'm ready. Please show me the way. Right? Please show me the way. Then, once that first synchronicity happens, once that first opening, once that first mentor coach, that first post that talks to you, once you see something, a mastermind, once that thing comes to you, right? That's step 2. Now it came to you. Now there's an answer. Now it's your turn again, right? Step 3, act now. Do it now. Put the credit card down. Stop acting like, oh my God, if I do this, I'm not going to eat again. I'm not going to be able to have a roof over my head. I'm not going to feed the kids. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. But your brain is stuck in a fear pattern, right? And the only way to break the fear pattern is to override it, is to do what you don't want to do. That's how you jump out of an airplane. That's how you do a cold plunge. You have to override the software, because the software is old computer system that was designed. Don't get me wrong. We're all beautiful human beings with flesh, bone, and cartilage and joints and spirit and enthusiasm. And we're all these beautiful things, right? And heart pumping. We're all these beautiful things that can do these amazing things. But the software, the hardware, is from the fight or flight stone ages of hunter-gatherer, and it's actually it's not trying to keep you a loser. It's not trying to make you sad. It's trying to keep you safe. So if your safe is, I do this every day and I'm trying to do this and I'm not going to invest my money in this, and it's just going to keep that pattern up, because the first thing it wants to do is it wants to tell itself that it's right. If it shows itself it's right, then now you have a belief pattern. Oh, you see, I'm right. I'm right. This is keeping me safe. This is keeping me safe. You have to actually override the system and go, no, I need to grow. I need to be better. I need to be bigger. I know I can do this. It's fucking scary, but I know I can do this. So it's one, ask your higher power, ask God, ask the divine life force, ask spirit. Two, wait for that thing to happen. It's going to happen within 72 hours. Three, act. Override the system, because that third step is going to be the hardest step, because that's where your system's going to go, this is coming up, and I have my daughter's this, and I have my wife's this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And there's always, because it's going to keep you safe. And here's the thing, and it's in every meme, and it's in every speech, no one's coming to do it for you. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Oh, I have a podcast. Oh, I have this. Oh, I have social media. No one gives a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck. Go, you have to do it yourself. No one's waiting to go, oh, I've been looking for you. Here's $2 million. Market yourself.
I wish it was that nice. Like,
gives a fuck. You gotta do it yourself. And once you do, and you put that much money and investment into yourself, wait till you watch what happens. It is miraculous. It's heaven. But it's so scary. It's so scary.
And do you think that's why everybody's sitting just now going, yeah, I could do that, I'd do that. But as soon as they come to put that money down, they're immediately going, oh, I need to read another book. Oh, I need to do another workshop. Oh, I need to do... Because at least they feel like they're doing something. You feel like you're actually getting some progress, but you're not actually touching it.
Yeah, I think that. And I think it's, look, it's so easy to stay scared and to stay in that seeking mode. Everyone loves this seeking mode. Okay, you get close. I can't do it now. I'll buy that book. Okay, I'm scared. I'm scared. Oh my God, this is it. I'm going to go to do CrossFit. Oh, I'm scared. Okay, I'm going to do what David Goggins does and run 20 miles every day. Oh, I'm scared. But the real thing they need to do is finally put the 10 grand, the 20 grand, whatever it is, into themselves. Other than that, they're just going from camp to camp, to book, to idea, never actually do, and I feel for them because I've been there. And that's why I talk about it so passionately, right? It's because, Tony had to do it with Jim Rohn. I had to do it. Anyone that I've met had to do it. Michael Jordan had to do it. Kobe Bryant had to do it. And any of the greats had to finally put up or shut up.
I remember when I found you, I was like, where has this guy been? I wish I'd had him as a mentor when I was younger, because I could have cut out so much bullshit, so many years of.
No, my man, me too. That's why I do what I do. Listen, I'm 46. You know what I mean? I'm 46 years old. I've just been living my dream life, my mission, my purpose, but on my own, with my own name and my own thing for 2 years. But once I invest in myself, that's a hell of a 2-year journey when you see what I've done in 2 years.
Oh,
you know I mean? But for 23 years, I was running the lace business. And always going into these circles. I wish I could do this. I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have, right? And I finally had to bet on myself. And it was the greatest thing I ever did. And I beg people to do it. And I know how uncomfortable it is. And I know how scary it is. I know. But what they don't realize is how much greatness they have in them. They have so much greatness in them. And it just takes that one idea, and there's a fucking jump that you have no idea. It's like a quantum leap. It's a fucking go. It's a fucking attitude. And they just don't realize, And so I have these amazing friends. I would never hurt them because I would hate to say their names, and you look them up and they'd be like, oh my God, I know exactly who Adam's talking about. Right? They've been guests on these podcasts, and they have these amazing podcasts, right? And they have these amazing guests, and they are fucking broke. They're broke because they're not going to hire a coach. they have one part of the formula figured out, and they don't have and they're not willing to do it. You know, for me personally, look, don't get me wrong. Recognition and significance is a wonderful thing, but I gotta fucking eat, and my kids gotta eat, and I want to live. You know what I mean? And I know how fast it is to have a #1 best-selling book, and then for the there's nothing higher than #1, and then it to be #3, and then it to be #5. So if you're constantly chasing the next podcast guest, the next thing of significance, the next top 10 list, the next, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you're getting all these things, but you're not eating. You're not living your dream. Put a fucking gun to my head.
That really fucking hit home, because I was like that. Once I get this pair of jeans, I'll be fine. Once I get that girl's number, I'll do it. Once I'm in a relationship, I'll be fine. That's 9. You just start the cycle again. Oh, I need a better girlfriend. Oh, I need better clothes. Oh, I need a better job. Oh, I need a better... And we never actually get anywhere. And you just go round and round.
You know, it's the 6 basic human needs. It's when we put too much in significance. We all need to feel significant. You know, you're an amazing father, son, family man, right? We all need to feel significant. But there's so much more than just significance. There's growth. There's contribution. You know, there's variety. You know, there's so much more to life than just attention. Then, I'm doing something important. Okay, good. You're doing something important. Great. You know what I mean? But there's more. There's more. So, you know, if you keep chasing significance, it's chasing the new cover, chasing the new podcast guest, chasing the new this, it's chasing. Chasing is torture, man. Chasing is hard.
So if we are starting to invest in ourselves, and we're starting to go, and we start thinking, okay, you said you didn't have coping strategies until you got into rehab and learned about what we're doing. So how do we know and deal with that uncomfortableness, shall we call it, when you're getting rid of the shitty friends, or you're leaving the job or the city you've never left because you were scared to? How have you learned how to deal with that initial pushback, that kind of, you know, like the crabs in the bucket? They pull them back in rather than try to come out themselves. You know, like if one's trying to come out, they go, nah, you know, be like the rest of us. How did you initially step out of that and go, nah, I'm getting my cape. I'm fucking going to show you how it's done. How do you get into that, do you think?
It's something of an identity shift. It's I'm still Adam, and the people I love, I still love, and the things I care about, I still care about. It's not an identity shift like multiple personalities, but it's a shift in realizing that I can't play small anymore, and I can't. All these things that I keep telling myself are a bullshit story. It's a bullshit story. It's a story I keep telling myself. And in order for me to believe that I should stay in this town, like you said, I should stay in this town, or I should say, in order for me to believe that, I have to believe that I'm not here for greatness. That I'm not and you shift your identity to realize that, you know, God wants everything for you. You want everything for you. People that if you had it, you would help the people you love, and you just see through a new pair of glasses. And like I said, it doesn't mean that the old thinking doesn't come. Right? It's that you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to listen to it. Think about that. Yeah. Right? I don't have to listen to that thought. There's such freedom in that.
It's hard not to sit and take notes, because I can remember thinking I was a failure because I went back to the old way of thinking. Because everybody always says, yeah, you read my book, you'll transform, you'll go and do your own shit, you'll be amazing. Suddenly I was like, but I'm still having my slip-ups. I'm still doing the same crap. So how did you learn to sort of recalibrate, reset, and sort of reignite yourself? How did you keep that going? Oh, I made a mistake. Doesn't define me. It's just a learning experience. Let's crush it.
I think so. For me, it was consistency. It was sharing with my mentor the thoughts that were going through my head, realizing that they were normal. B, understanding small little differences, like the difference between being bored and being at peace. I didn't know the difference.
Hmm.
You know, when I was actually just starting to feel what peace felt like, it felt very boring. I was used to such craziness in my life that as I started getting more peaceful, I felt boring. Think about that. Wow. So learning new definitions to new words, understanding the difference between love and approval. I used to be seeking for everybody's approval, external approval, thinking it was love. No, they don't. Here's real love. You have kids, right? You have kids?
Oh, me, no.
Oh, no. Okay. I have kids. Okay. Here's love. You ready? I love my kids more than anything in the world. More than anything. But I am not going to approve of every decision they ever make. It's impossible. But I love them unconditionally. But many people are trying to get people's approval. You know what I mean? Like, agree with me, approve of me. I don't want to disrupt. Confusing it with love. Thinking that those perfect people love you. They don't fucking love you. Your mom loves you. Your dad loves you. Your kids love you. You know what I mean? But you're seeking all these other people's approval thinking it's love. So I had to redefine words. I had to keep sharing what was going on in my life. I had to be very consistent with daily disciplines and routines. And that's what happened. You know, I just shifted my identity.
So how do we get you to, like, say somebody comes in, they were an addict, they were at their low point, whatever, even if they're not an alcoholic, even if they're not a drug addict or whatever it is, but they're just out listening going, I hate my life. How do we start getting them to have these proper conversations with the likes of yourself and cut through the, yeah, I'm cool, I'm a hippie, and actually go, I hate my life, I don't feel well, and actually letting somebody like you work with them? How do we get through that initial bravado?
All they have to do is have the courage to. It's a different day and age, man. It's not like when I need help. All you have to do is literally go on Instagram and DM me, or DM any of these people that you feel like can help you. You know what I mean? And you will be heard. You will be heard. It just takes that initial act of courage of saying, I need help.
So how would you define being the personal superhero in your own journey? How do we know we're on the right path and not like what society wants for us? We're just shifting because we think, it's a better job. That's my journey. How do we know when it's actual, proper, ball tingling, this is my journey, not this is what my parents want or something?
It's a great question. So you're going to have to be really real with yourself and ask yourself, what's your mission? What's your purpose in life? What's your mission? And are you doing it? And if you're not, are you prepared to get a little uncomfortable every day? Not all day, every day, but a little uncomfortable every day. And once you start asking yourself, there's such power in questions. Asking yourself these questions and seeing what's going on in that brain of yours. But every single person on this planet has a divine reason, a true reason for being here. And to not live up to what your potential and why you're here is the greatest. Like, that's why I do what I do, because I feel like that's the greatest mistake anyone could have, is to not live why they're here, is to live in society's rules. I'm here to get the house. I'm here to do this. No, you're here for a reason. You're here for greatness too. And a lot of people want to confuse that with, well, if I'm here, I need to be humble and poor. No, you're supposed to be abundant, man. You're supposed to be wealthy and happy. Nobody wants you poor. Nobody. This is a story that you have told yourself. And that is why so many times, even in the Bible and biblical terms, the victor always comes out to abundance. if it's David, if it's Isaac, if it's Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, if it's, you know what I mean, if it's the 12 apostles, if it's the apostle, like that, you come into this abundance.
No, I was speechless. I knew you were going to be good, but I was just like, I just wish I could just sit and listen rather than wait until I ask the next question.
Thanks, man.
And what do you do in terms of that? Do you make that as a habit? Do you have like a set of, say, 5 questions you ask yourself? Do you journal? Are you just thinking about it, or?
Yeah, no. I mean, listen, you should see how many notebooks I have around my house. But I journal, I pray, I meditate, I talk about it, I share about it, on social media. I lean in, I ask myself the deep questions. I ask my mentors and my teachers and my coaches the deep questions. I still try to find out more. I want to learn. I don't want to be a know-it-all. I want to be a sponge. I just, I don't ever want my journey to end. I just don't want my journey to end.
I love it. I love how sort of like you cut down all that BS, that kind of, no, you can do it. You just need to invest in yourself. You can do it. You just need to believe in yourself. You just need to ask that questions. So how would you start working with a client? Like, how would somebody approach you and start getting the, like, say they've taken the book, how should they start using it?
I think the first step is to get a notebook and a pen, not your iPhone or smartphone in the Notes app, to get a notebook and a pen and write down a letter to yourself 20 years from now. 2 letters. One, that you went for it, what it looks like, and 20 years from now, and you let fear override you. You didn't do it. You didn't try. You didn't put your credit card down. Whatever, and what your life looks like, and get real. Get real. Get real with the idea of what's it like to go for it, and to go on this journey of discovery, this hero's journey, and what's it like to stay stuck.
Like the parallel paths, seeing what your life could be and what
It's you talking to yourself 20 years in the future, 2 different yous, one that went for it and one that didn't.
Yeah, and I know what I'd rather do. Regret is a fucking horrible thing.
Yeah,
I would love to. Well, I can't believe we're out there. I mean, it feels like 10 minutes, honestly, man. Like, I think you're one of the greatest, you're easily one of the greatest guys I've chatted with. But I mean,
Ian, thanks, man. It's been a lot of fun talking with you too. I'm sorry that I get so passionate, but I just, I speak in a way that way because I am the person I'm talking to. I know that person so fucking well. My kids, I have this, I have that. Adam, shut the fuck up. Adam, shut the fuck up. Bet on yourself for the first time, because no one's gonna do it for you. Your dad and mom love you; they ain't gonna do it. Your ex-wife certainly ain't gonna do it. No one's gonna fucking do it for you.
Well, I definitely want to do a round 2 because I know we're just touching the surface. You could change fucking lives for Scott day in, day out, like you are doing now. But what do you want people to take from this? Like, what would you want them as a sort of message to take from this, if you had to sum it up?
I think the idea would be look at a guy that started a podcast like Ian, and look at a guy like Adam that started a coaching program, and realize that there's just infinite possibilities out there. There's infinite potentials, and to just give yourself a break for about 10 minutes and say, what would it be like if? And from there, you can build. You could build on that. I don't want them to take any huge things. It's kind of like, what do you do when you're trying to get in shape? Well, first, why don't you walk around the block before you start looking into whose workout program is better? Cameron Haynes, David Goggins, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Rich Roll. Like, before you start advancing that deeply, why don't you just put a pair of fucking sneakers on and walk 30 minutes that way and 30 minutes back? That's what I would want them to do. Just play with the idea. Just don't get crazy with it. Just what would it look like? What would it be like? What could happen?
Yeah, stop thinking about it and just do it. Well, I know we're very close to time, and I'd love to do a round 2 at some point, but how would you want people to get in touch, to buy the book, to follow you on social media, work with you?
So listen, I made myself very easily accessible. It's Adam Jablin everywhere at Facebook, Adam Jablin Instagram, Adam Jablin LinkedIn, and I always, or a team member, will always get back to you. And my team and I are this close. It's like my right and left arm. So if it's Naomi or Sandy and whoever getting back to you, I gotta promise you that when you hear back, this is not like some huge sales team and you're hearing from some stranger. You will always hear back from somebody that cares, that wants the best for you, and we will make sure that we do everything we can to help you.
Well, that's it for another week, and thank you for listening. It's now time to take what you've learned and use it to develop and enhance your life with the key points mentioned. Listen, try it, embrace it, use it, and crush it. Now's your time to hit that next level in your life. If you liked this episode, then please leave a comment on the show notes or a review of the show on your podcast platform. Everything helps evolve the show. Until next week, keep seeking the next level in your life.